Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, jobs, changing careers, interviewing, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Avinci is going to be here with us talking about consultants in the workplace. And I wanted to bring up something that came up in the past week or so that had to do with interviewing. And I was reminded of the story that I learned a number of years ago about the wise man teaching the student that there was going to be a miracle rock somewhere on the beach, and that if the young man went down the beach long enough and he picked up rocks, and if the rock was warm, he should throw it in the ocean and keep looking for a cold rock. And he did this for one day, and he did it for 2 days, and he kept picking up rocks, and they were warm, and he would throw them in the ocean, and he would pick up another rock, and it was warm, and he would throw it in the ocean. And this was going on for days at a time, weeks at a time. Finally, one day, he picked up a cold rock, and he threw it in the ocean. He had gotten in such a habit of picking up rocks and throwing them in the ocean, he didn't recognize the cold rock when he found it. I was reminded of this with an employer that we were working with that has been nixing every candidate that we sent him. He is a cold interviewer, a difficult interview. He's afraid of making a big mistake. He wants to make it difficult for candidates, and he's rather unfair, but then that's the way he is. There's nothing anybody can do about that. And he went through about 15 candidates, and he kept nixing them all, and just immediately adversarial and very aggressive, and just eliminating candidates in the very beginning and not giving them much of a chance. Finally, we sent him a candidate that was about as perfect as he was going to find. And he was so used to being adversarial and rather difficult in the interviewing process that he ended up eliminating the candidate. He was so adversarial, the candidate frankly eliminated him. Didn't feel like he'd want to go to work for a guy like that at all. When you find you're going to have to talk, if you're a hiring authority, you end up talking to a lot of people. And a lot of the candidates don't make it. That's fair. That's what interviewing is for. But there may come along a really good candidate that you have to sell your job to, because those kind of candidates have a lot of companies that are looking to hire them, and they have a lot of choices. So when you find one of those candidates, like a cold rock, you'd best sell them, and you'd best give them plenty of real good reasons of why they ought to go to work there. This guy needed to change his attitude towards interviewing, not be adversarial and not be cold. Ask a number of questions in the beginning, and if he came to the conclusion that he wasn't going to hire somebody, so be it. Don't hire him. He didn't have to give him much time. He didn't have to give him much effort. He didn't have to give him much anything if he didn't decide that he wasn't going to hire them. But being adversarial and being aggressive about it and getting in the habit of being adversarial and aggressive really didn't do him any good. He finally found a candidate that he thought was really good, but he didn't realize it, that he was about 3/4 of the way through the interview. And then he started paying attention to the candidate and started paying attention to selling the candidate and getting in gear with the candidate. But by then it was too late. The candidate had a very poor opinion of him and decided he wasn't interested in the situation, even though it was a good situation for the candidate. So remember that if you're a hiring authority, start out giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. If you're not going to hire them, that's fine. You don't even have to spend a lot of time with them. I tell my employers, my hiring authorities, if you come to the conclusion that you're not going to hire a candidate in the first 5 minutes of the interview, then excuse yourself, tell them that you're interviewing a lot of candidates and that you would get back to them. There's nothing that says you have to give them a half hour or an hour or anything if you come to the conclusion that you're not going to hire them. But be aware that everybody might be the candidate that is the best to have, and that you can't get in such a habit of eliminating candidates that you eliminate the good ones, the ones that you would probably hire by not selling your job and selling your company. It's a good idea to try to sell your job and sell your company to everybody. And then you have your pick and desires candidates. You have the best of them. So keep that in mind. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.